The town of Berlin. Country charm at the center of Connecticut.
Okay, good evening, everybody. We'll call this meeting to order, Town Council meeting, October 4th, 2016. Pledge of Allegiance. Start with that, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Kate.
Councilor Campanelli.
Here.
Councilor Evans.
Here.
Mayor Kaczynski.
Here.
Councilor Buddy.
Here.
Councilor Paynessa.
Here.
Councilor Lachette. Here. Councilor Rosso. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay, we'll start with our audience of citizens. Do we have people that want to speak? Yes, sir.
My name's Sam Lamaglio. I'm here to talk about two issues, and I know I probably should be able to go down to the Board of Ed, but I think it's very important that the council knows what's going on at the Board of Ed, and perhaps maybe you could take some issues on this, and perhaps maybe you could send a letter to the Board of Ed.
Okay.
Being on the charter revision, people call you up and they tell you things that's going on the Board of Ed. So I got two calls, and I said I would come here. Since 2014, the Board of Ed has spent $99,977 on legal fees and kept it secret from the town in the investigation against the former Board of Ed chairman, Gary Brochure. He was accused of bullying a soccer coach. There was an investigation. There was a lot of accusations going around. And they investigated it. They had an attorney investigate it. They self-investigated it. And really, the public doesn't know what happened in that investigation. And then the Berlin Education Association wanted a copy of the deposition, if it's video or written, and the Board of Ed said no. So they went to FOI. FOI told them they had to release it, and now they're in litigation. They're spending almost $100,000, and they're continuing this litigation. I'd like the council to ask the Board of Ed or Gary to release the stuff, to release everything, to release the videos, the depositions, whatever that needs to be released, because the Board of Ed has been saying that they're transparent. They're not transparent on this. It's been secretive, and we should know what's going on. That's a lot of money to be spent, and they should be ashamed of themselves, and no one knows. And so if the council could get to the bottom of this is taxpayers' money. I know the Board of Ed thinks it's their money, but they are taxpayers' money, and they took $100,000, and I talked to the current chairman, and he laughed it off. I talked to him at the Berlin Fair Friday night. He laughed it off. He said, oh, it's not a big deal. He said, I'd rather protect someone who's done good in town and has represented the Board of Education. That's what he said. And what really bothers me is what really bothers me.
Well, it's not testimony. He could say that.
Well, it could be hearsay, but I'm just telling you.
I
understand.
You shouldn't defame people who are.
Okay, I understand.
And
whatever.
He may have said that,
He
but,
did say it. Okay, but what really bothers me is they took a football coach.
We're not in a court of law here, so.
They took a football coach, John Cabadice, who I respect.
Yep.
They raked him over the coals. The media, somebody in the Board of Ed constantly releases it. You saw it on CNN News. You see it in the newspapers every single day. They demeaned this man with very little evidence. Very little evidence. They forced him out of coaching. They embarrassed him. They embarrassed his family. He had to pull the kids out of schools. They're going to another school. But everything was up. The Board of Education crucified him. But yet they're covering up on the ex-chairman. What the ex-chairman did, and that's all speculation. I mean, I hear so many rumors, but what he did was worse than what John Cabadice did, and they should be ashamed of themselves. So I asked the council if they could get to the bottom of this and find out where the money's going. Another issue is the graduation. All of a sudden, they decide they're going to have a graduation at Berlin High School. Tradition has been broken. They didn't check with the parents. Because parents are on an uproar. They didn't ask the students, the seniors, to take a vote on it. The Board of Education met in committee secretively They didn't tell the parents that they were going to take a vote, and all of a sudden they took a
Can
vote.
I just stop you for a second? I'm sorry. Committees are not secret. They're publicly
Well,
posted
you know what, then why
meetings.
didn't, excuse me, why didn't they let the parents, don't you think out of courtesy?
Listen, I'm not arguing
Okay.
that. All I'm saying is
Okay,
committee
whatever,
meetings are
okay.
not
Okay,
secret
well,
meetings.
in
They
my
can't
opinion-
be by law.
In my
So-
opinion, they're secret, okay?
Oh, okay.
And that my opinion counts right now.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
That's
so
good.
they had a secret meeting.
It's not secret.
Well, it
That
doesn't
needs to
matter.
be on record.
It doesn't matter.
It
That's
needs
my
to be on
opinion.
record.
They had a secret meeting.
You're accusing
And
them
then,
of-
they had a secret meeting because the parents didn't know anything about it. They did not know anything about this vote. And then all
But
of a
that's
sudden.
different. I agree that they didn't know.
They
And
didn't
I'm
know.
hearing the same
Okay.
thing
Yes,
you are.
absolutely.
I
And
mean, I
that-
would think what they, you know, my son's out of school now, but typically on any issues, they sent a letter home, you know, to
They
tell
didn't
you.
send a letter home.
No, well, that's what I understand. But a lot of people did
And
come up
wouldn't
to
it
me
be
at the fair.
smart if the Board of Education or Superintendent of Schools asked the seniors, forget the parents, just ask the seniors, say, do you want to go to Central like tradition on Father's
Yeah.
Day? Or do you want to break tradition and go to the gym? And I talked to a lot of seniors, and they all rather go to Central. They're very upset. And it's a stupid idea. You're going to have parents go up on the bleachers just to save $2,000. Do they really need that $2,000 that they're saving? Do they really need that? Or maybe they need it for the lawsuit. Maybe they're trying to build more money up. Who knows? But I know for a fact that the parents would pay for this. The parents would pay to have the graduation done there. So I think the council should get involved, ask the Board of Education to rescind the votes, because parents asked me to come here. And they're asking the mayor and the council to do something about that, because they're not getting anywhere from the Board of Education. And they're sending up petitions, there's petitions flying around town, the seniors are upset. So you have two big issues right now to deal with.
Right.
The $100,000 that they concealed and the gym thing.
Right.
That's it.
Hold on a moment. I just want to interject. I don't believe that $100,000 was concealed in any way,
Yes,
shape,
it
or
was.
form.
Where was it in the minutes? Because I looked all over the place, I couldn't find it in the minutes. Where was
Did
it?
you make an FOI request
Yes,
to ask for
yes.
the cost of the legal fees?
Yeah, that's where we got it. But at the, but,
Okay.
but
Well, then it wasn't
It was
concealed.
concealed if we didn't uncover it. If somebody, a former Board of Ed member called me up and said, look into this. I didn't believe it. I didn't believe that the Board of Education would have spent $100,000 to defend a former chairman who clearly is guilty. He's clearly guilty on this, because I know for a fact, I knew the soccer coach. I know he's guilty. My son played soccer, and they concealed it. They protected him. But yet they threw John Cabot-Ice under the bus.
I don't think they were protecting him so much as protecting themselves, which is what you typically
They
get a lawyer
protect-
for.
What are they protecting about? What are they protecting themselves about?
That's not my place to say.
Well,
but
don't you think we should find out? Because if they
Can
did
we
it the
go
other way.
back to I think the $100,000 is an issue on its own, but I think the
Right.
graduation piece, I would suggest we as a body, and Mayor, you can speak to this too, we don't have control over what
Yeah,
the
but
Board of
can
Ed
you go
does.
over there and ask them?
We certainly can as
Yes,
citizens,
as
but,
citizens,
Right.
and I
absolutely.
would suggest to the parents you talk to, and this is what the parents I've talked to, one is that they should go to the meeting on the 11th, and I think a lot of them will be there,
They'll be
so they
there.
can express their concerns there, because ultimately the board is the one that has to make that decision, not the town council. I think there's also some misinformation going around about that. I know parents have said they're only going to get 2 tickets for the gym. That's not true. They'll get 5 tickets, the same as they got at Central,
Right.
plus an additional 3 for
Right.
people who want to go in the auditorium. So I'm just saying, I think they need to go and hear the full story, and then if they still don't want it, then they can express
But,
their
I mean,
opinion
but-
then. But right now, I think there's a lot of rumors flying
But think
around.
about it, isn't it a stupid idea? You're gonna watch your kid
it's
graduate
not-
on
it's not
our
a
place to
camera. I mean,
pontificate.
you're gonna-
I think most
But it
schools
clearly-
in the state graduate at their own schools
Not
on
the
the
high
last day
schools.
at
They did it
school.
outside in tents.
I
Yes,
did.
outside in
No, I
tents.
graduated in my gym.
Well, that's
you
great,
know,
but that's
so
not
I'm
tradition.
saying
That's
well,
not
maybe
tradition.
not here, but I don't think it's necessarily enough.
But
I just think people
my
need to
point
hear the
is,
full
I'm not
story.
arguing about the graduate. My point is, the Board of Education is not transparent.
Okay, but
They're
that's
not.
we're not the Board of Ed. So
But
we
you don't
hear your
understand,
concerns,
but I understand, but the council's argument when we passed this charter revision and everybody's against the Board of Education is that because they're transparent. They're not transparent, because the fact of the matter is they're spending $100,000 to cover up whatever Gary did. And I don't know what he did, but wouldn't it be better to be transparent and release everything, just release it?
Yes, I agree.
I mean, that's what I think.
Yeah, I
Transparency
mean,
is
you know, some great points you've made. I mean, I think that's always the issue with the council and the Board of Ed, in that we don't, you know, unfortunately have any authority over the Board of Ed, and a lot of that's by state statute as well.
That's right.
But, yeah, I mean, a lot of people came up to me at the fair. They were very upset about the graduation, and I did tell them, hey, write letters, go to the Board of Ed, go to the superintendent's office, you know, do what you have to do to get them to,
But-
explain it, one, or change it, two. So that's an issue, and,
But that's an
Yeah.
issue to say that the Board of Ed is out of touch.
well, I mean.
They're out of touch.
That may be, and may not be, I don't know, but.
Well,
I
I feel they're out of touch as a
I
resident
would
of the
think a
community.
letter,
feel
home.
they're
I
out
mean,
of
I just
touch.
know they sent so many, I don't know what happened, but they sent so many letters home. I remember getting 1 million letters about the most innocuous things. I would think this would be a pretty important issue to send a
They
letter
didn't
home and
send a
tell
letter and
parents
they
to
didn't
go to a
check with
meeting.
the seniors, and that's what
So,
upsets me.
yeah,
Is that
well,
the
I-
seniors
But
are
we as a
understand
entitled.
it.
council
We
can't
understand.
Right, but you
do
could say-
anything
but
about
you know
that,
what-
sir. And
you
they
know
were
what?
elected by the
You're
people
right,
of
you're
this
right. I
town.
agree
So
with
I
you.
think you
Right.
need to
Oh, I
try
will.
this in the
We're-
Court of Public
But I
Appeal,
agree with
not
you.
at the town
I
council
agree
meeting.
with you on one point, but
No,
another
yeah, but
point, I disagree with you, because I think you are the governing body of the town. And I think a letter from the council to the Board of Education say, can you reconsider this vote, would be very important. I mean, take a stand. I mean, they might not be able to.
From any letter you decide to send, just
Yeah.
letting you
Well,
know
There'll be
Again.
what?
Okay.
There'll
I-
be what?
I
didn't
said I
hear
will
you.
be recusing myself from
Well,
any
okay,
letter
whatever.
if there's any
Yeah.
decision, because
But I'm
I
just
sat on
saying.
the Board of Education.
Okay, I
and part
agree.
of that
I'm just saying that it would be very important to see that
Yeah.
the council would be behind these parents, because that's what they're
Yeah.
looking for. They know
Yeah.
you might not be able to change their mind. I
Right.
realize that.
Right.
But what they're looking for, because
Yeah.
the Board of Education's not listening to them. The Board of Education is not listening to the students. I mean, there's petitions, the students are thinking about
Right.
protesting there, and they are not, the president of the Board of Education has failed to listen to them. The superintendent of schools have failed to listen to them, and that's a problem. When you're a Board of Education, you don't listen to your students, you have a problem. And I think the council, I know you have no authority, and I realize that, but the
Right,
council can
right.
send a letter just expressing their concern, and you can do whatever you want. It's just
Right.
a suggestion I have. And then
Yeah.
as far as the 100,000, I think since it is taxpayers' money, the council should find out why that money is spent and why they're covering up. I mean, when they did that self-investigation, I thought it was ridiculous that they self-investigated, and that was years ago. We're not going to rehash the past.
No.
But the point is, they actually spent 100,000. They did cover it up. Nobody in town really knew what was going on. And you know what? That's a problem. That's a problem that if the Board of Education is willing to spend 100,000 to cover up for their own members, to protect themselves, protect the superintendent of schools, and what
Yep.
else have they done in the past? That's the question. What else have they done in the past? Abuse of money.
Right,
It's
so
abuse of power,
yes.
really.
And it's a whole new council now. So, I mean, a whole new Board of Ed now. You know,
Right.
I think so. I think it's
how about-
kind of a circular argument. There's new people there. When that had happened, the majority of the people are no longer on the Board of Ed when
But-
as
I
when
get-
that happened.
I guess
And
what
I think you're trying to push charter change through your comments
Well, you
here.
know what, you
and
know
I think
what?
it's inappropriate. And I'm sorry, Mayor, but I think it's time
as a
we move
citizen,
on.
as a citizen of the town,
Well,
yeah, I am pushing charter
y-
revision
Right.
because we do need a change, and these are the examples that we need to change, and this is the
You
place where I felt like I should express it.
Then you should have said that up front. And we can't do anything about the Board of Ed as a town council.
But you could send a letter.
We could.
That's my
So
point.
that's what
But
you
I
could
will
have
again
said.
be recusing
Well, I
myself.
actually sent a letter.
Well, I mean, we'll consider that, and it's disturbing to hear that so many parents are upset at the Board of Ed. That's disturbing as, as a citizen of the
But it's
town.
also disturbing to hear that they spent 100,000
And as the mayor,
secretly.
that's a lot of money on attorney's fees. All I know about that issue was it was in the newspaper, so I don't know what else there is to report on, but I would hope that in the interest of transparency, that I did hear from a lot of Board of Ed members at this hearing several times that they would just release it, because FOI rules apparently agreed to release it. But I don't know what they're litigating then if they didn't release it, but apparently I did hear a couple of people told me about it at the fair as well, and that it went to lower court. Lower court said FOI release it, and now they're appealing it. That's what I heard. I don't know.
And that's why maybe they're cutting
And
back
those
and
are the
graduating.
Yeah,
parties'
I really
rights
don't
to
know, but-
I don't think
We're-
one
All right, whoa, whoa, whoa,
does
whoa.
anything
Hey,
together.
all right, I'm talking. Can I speak, please?
Yep, go ahead.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Gotcha.
So, I did hear that. It doesn't make sense to me what the issue would be, because we all kind of read about it in the paper. So I don't know what they'd be defending,
Well, maybe
but
they're covering something up, who knows?
I don't know. Again, unfortunately, beyond our authority. I wish I had some authority over it, because I certainly have some thoughts
Well,
on it.
thank you,
But
thank you for giving me the opportunity.
But yeah, and that's your right as a citizen to come forward and talk to us, and we certainly are concerned about it, and we can individually express our concerns to the Board of Ed or to the superintendent. And it is it's disturbing to hear that. That's a lot of money in these times of tough fiscal times, but that's what they have chosen to do. Okay. Any other comments on that? Anybody want to make any comments?
I just have
Yes.
one
yes.
brief follow-up. If it's in the legal process right now,
Yes.
I also think that we should not touch anything that's currently going
Yeah.
through the legal process. You know, and I know, and you know, everybody else here, I'm sure, can, you know, just imagine that while something is going through the appropriate channels, that we should keep our hands off of it and allow it to do that. And
Well, we've said that.
once
We
it's
have
over-
no
Yep.
authority.
Yep.
We certainly can.
I just wanted to add that layer on top, that there is a legal process for
Yes,
this purpose.
understand
And it's
that.
in that process now, and it's going through it. So let's let that happen. And
Of course, we will. We
Yeah.
would not interfere, but we certainly can express our opinions.
Sure.
That's a lot of money. But anyway, okay, any other comments?
So, Mayor, on the agenda item, because I had similar questions to me, and I just went on the Board of Education website and looked at the posted agendas, and I didn't, this is after the fact, so I don't know at what time they're posted, but there's 3 meeting agendas posted for the date in question, the 26th of September, one for 6, 6:30, and 7. The 6:30 meeting had an agenda item with respect to moving the location of the graduation. I did express to the Board of Education my concern that the calendar may have been a little confusing, because I looked at the meetings scheduled on the calendar itself, and it had 2 meetings scheduled for 7 o'clock, and one of them showed the McGee symbol, and the other one showed the Board of Education Apple symbol. And they both listed 7 o'clock. So my recommendation to them was to improve the accuracy of the calendar. And if you do go to the agenda items, you do see that they represent the times, but that was my encouragement, to improve the calendar in their representation.
And it is my understanding,
Okay.
too, that it was a unanimous decision by the Board of Ed to move it, and I think they got
Even
a
the
whole,
president
a whole presentation on how they were going to transform the gym. So I know there's a lot of concern by parents. Again, my suggestion is that they go to the BOE meeting on October 11th to get all of the information, because I know there's a lot of, things flying around that may or may not be accurate. So that is my suggestion. And thank you, Dave, for clarifying that it was on the agenda previous to the meeting.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. Again, it's always, everybody's right, like we've talked about, to come to our town council meetings and express their opinions on whatever is bothering them in town. That's what the audience of citizens is for. There's many things we can take action on and some things we can't. But, it's always good to hear the information, and I heard, similar comments from many people about these issues in the last weekend at the Berlin Fair. So, okay, so we're still in the audience of citizens. We have some more speakers. Yes, sir.
Good evening, everyone. My name is James McDermott, 264 Stony Mill Lane, East Berlin. I'm a commissioner on the Berlin Housing Authority, and I fully support what Chairman Bajorski will present here tonight. In good faith, the town of Berlin offered 8 acres of land to the Berlin Housing Authority in 2012. In good faith, the Housing Authority began long-term planning to provide much-needed additional elderly housing on the 8 acres. During the past 3 years, the authority has spent approximately $400,000 for the very specific development of architectural, structural, and constructional design plans for a new 50-unit complex with 2 buildings. In good faith, Chairman Bajorski, architects, design engineers stood before and gained the required approval of every board and commission, and they also made several presentations to the town council. I know, because I was here. I know about the meetings with some of the commissions and the boards because I was there. Every major project has hurdles to overcome. I understand that. The authority still has 2 major hurdles. First, the authority cannot lock in potential investors to fund the project until we officially close with the town on the 8-acre plot. Second, and it can't officially close on the town's gift until the newfound restrictions on the land use are resolved. Second, all planning to date has revolved around the 8-acre site. Anything less than that will add very costly modifications and potentially long delays, if not jeopardize, the entire project. In closing, I ask that the town management and the council communicate and coordinate in good faith to expeditiously resolve the land use issue and to not alter the existing 8 acres for which the authority remains very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the audience?
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
Vice Chair, Berlin Housing Authority, Michelle Yurinzik,
Welcome.
957 Chamberlain Highway. I just want to reiterate what Jim said and what Joe has been fighting for the past 4 years. We went into contract with this town of Berlin in 2012 of September, and it has taken 4 years, and it's at a stalemate right now. Per the contract, under Section 3, miscellaneous item number 7A, it states that the buyer, which is us, Berlin Housing Authority, shall furnish the seller evidence that we have a firm commitment to purchase that property. In July of 2015, we provided all that evidence. It is now over a year later. We are still stagnant. However, it's come to my attention, or rumored, that the town would like 4 of those acres back. For a noble endeavor, I won't say for what, but it has come to my attention that you want 4 of those acres back. If that should happen, we have already spent approximately $400,000. Someone will owe us that. And I believe that it will be the town. So what this council needs to consider is, next year when it's voting time, the voters of this town will not be happy. So we need to get this clarified sooner than later. So, any response to that?
Well,
I would like to know what's going on, because for 4 years,
yeah, and
we have been fighting this. And I would like, this is a different council than when we went to business with
Yes,
this and
correct.
contract.
Mhm.
So, and like I said, Joe has been here discussing,
Yes.
being very kind. I'm
He
being
has been,
very
yes.
blunt.
And so have we.
And to the
I might
point.
add, but
So
we
I
have-
want to know what the holdup is.
Okay, what we're gonna do is, this is the audience of citizens, you guys spoke, we just got a couple agenda items, then we will be on this agenda item, and what we will do tonight, and I spoke to Joe today, I've spoke to Joe many days in the past,
Right.
and we're gonna kinda go through it as brief as we can, but sort of get everybody, so everyone's on the same page. I'm very familiar with the project. I was on planning and zoning when it was approved, so I'm familiar with it.
Right.
Some things have changed in the last year that has brought this issue to light about the extra 4 acres.
Right, that conservation easement.
Correct. So, and we're kind of
However-
at a juncture now that it was stalled anyway, because of that conservation
However,
easement.
that was the town's fault.
Well,
They
let's.
granted us
Not sure
that
about
land
Yeah.
and did not do due diligence on that.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so we were
Yeah.
granted this land.
Yeah, well, I mean.
And
what-
we went to project, we had an architecture, we
Right.
spent money on a development. We
understand.
shared it with the surrounding members, families of that parcel of land.
Right.
It was in the Citizen, it was in the Herald.
Mm-hmm.
And now, how's that gonna make Berlin look? This is what I wanna know. Next year, when it's voting time,
Right. Well, I mean.
the council needs to think about that. So I hope
We're gonna
we come
do.
to a remedy tonight so that we can move forward. That easement was told to us that it would be cleared. We already went to an extension. Now you want another extension.
We can't clear what the state government won't allow us to clear. That's out of our purview. We've been working on that for a while. But all I can say about,
Then who
what
can
we-
clear it?
well, we're working to do that, but it's apparently a pretty exhaustive process from what I understand. And we've had our state rep helping us. We've tried to work on it as the town. But we're going to do what's in the best interest of the town of Berlin and the Housing Authority. I assure Joe of that, and we'll have that discussion tonight. And we've been working on it diligently to get this done. So let's just get to that on the agenda. Give us a minute. We'll get to that. We're going to have a discussion. And
Okay.
yeah, no, we're going to talk about it. Don't worry. Any other? Yes, Len. One more, and then we'll move on our agenda. And Joe, you can speak during, when we get to the issue, we're gonna have a discussion. I mean, we talked about that today. We'll have our plenty of time to talk about it. Go ahead, Len, sorry.
Len Zielinski, 24 Winesap Road.
Yes, sir.
Denise, I don't know whether you inform people, but we've got the superintendent or the engineer working on the air conditioning system in the building. As I was walking in, told me all the water is cut off in the building. I checked the water up here, so there's no facilities available, just as a heads up.
Oh,
Thank you.
okay,
Thank you
thanks.
for letting us know.
Thanks.
Much
Okay.
appreciated.
Well,
I guess I won't be drinking this one.
Yep.
we've got empty cups up here now. We won't go there.
How about the library? I just,
Well,
if you need to escape, I'm
Yeah,
just
we need to
talking about-
escape the library. It's a little bit of a walk, so start early. Start early if you have to go.
Fast meeting.
Yeah, we'll make it quick, I hope. Okay, so, all right. Well, thank you for that. All right, let's just do if we could just move to the consent agenda, and then we'll be to new business, which will be first up will be the Housing Authority.
Okay, I'll make a motion to accept the 2 items in the consent agenda tonight as written before us.
Second on that?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Just Denise, if you know, I know there's been a couple emails back and forth. The elevator, the elevator issue. I guess it didn't make it to the.
Well,
issue? We
I
don't know.
received a letter from OPM, and it will be on for the elevator on the October
Oh.
bond commission meeting. And according to Joe Arasimowitz,
Mm-hmm.
he saw no problem because of that, but I don't know what the date of that is. I'm
Okay.
trying to ascertain it from Joe. There were several other things also on that I'm trying to get the status of, because I'm not sure that the parking lot and other things that were also on that made it.
Oh, okay.
But-
So it's still coming?
Yes.
Down the road, okay. We wondered about that, okay. So, new business, topic number 1. Don't know if we had what do we have? on
Nothing
this?
has changed on
Yeah,
the
I
agenda
think it's
item.
just, it's a discussion, but I do want to have a good discussion since all the parties are here. I'll just start, and then please, people that are here in attendance, be it Denise or Joe or Helen and/or Jeff, our town attorney, can certainly feel free to fill in many gaps that I may have. But just to bring it forward, we had the history of it. We understand where we're at. We understand that at this point in time that this conservation easement popped up on the extra 4 acres, half of the site, but we also understand that I believe it's 3.9 acres, maybe it's 4, that the 2 buildings will be built upon are contained on that 4 acres and do not spill over onto the 4 acres with the conservation easement. So while we were at this juncture anyway, and I understand through the town and through our state rep, they've been working diligently since they found this out about the conservation easement with DEEP, trying to resolve this. It has not been easy. We're dealing with that agency from what I understand, and we've tried to do our best, and we're still working on it. But so at this juncture, while we were stalled anyway, based upon the conservation easement, I thought it was worth looking at to cut this piece of property off the development. None of what I recall from planning and zoning and what I've been updated on recently, none of the project spills over onto that 4 acres that has the conservation easement. It is a development on its own on those 4 acres. There's nothing on that piece of property that has anything to do with the development. So while we were here talking about it anyway, we just kind of wanted to get to that discussion. That might be the faster way to end any issues going forward, is to carve that piece off. Conservation easement goes away, the town will deal with that on our own, and your project is free and clear to move forward. So with that discussion, Joe, we've had, and I know you've had it with town staff in a couple of meetings, and as have I, with you and town staff, we wanted to look at, if that happened, what happens to you and your authority, the housing authority, and what additional costs you might incur to change that site plan, and perhaps have to go through planning and zoning or another 824. And I know you had a meeting the other day. I wasn't at that meeting, so I will, now let either Denise and a combination of Helen and or Jeff kind of, and we talked about it today a little bit, but not having the benefit of being there, what that would mean if we just said, all right, the conservation thing, that's just taken way too long. We want to move this forward. Cut that piece off. What does that mean? I mean, that's sort of being up to date of where we're at.
Can I ask a quick
Yes,
question?
absolutely,
Just
yeah.
because we do have an action item motion in our packet, so I just want to clarify, are we just discussing, or will we be discussing and then moving? Because I think we should move if we're going to move.
I would think that there needs to be a resolution of the issue this evening so that there's no question as to what direction the housing authority or the town has to go.
I agree. But
Okay.
before we make a motion, I'd rather everybody's on the same page before we start voting on things we're not sure, we don't know about, because there's been meetings that none of the town council has been involved in up to this point, other than, I've heard about them, but I want to make sure we're all on the same page in the council before we take any vote. Yes?
Yeah, I'm okay with us waiting before we
Yes,
vote, but
yes.
I just want to double check. Does there have to be a motion on the floor?
You can make a motion, second it, and then have your discussion.
Yeah.
Sure,
It's Robert's
if you want to make that. Sure, go ahead.
Okay, I'll make a motion to authorize the town manager to enter into an amendment to the option agreement between the town of Berlin and the Berlin Housing Authority to extend the option period to October 31st, 2017, and to reduce the area of the site to a 4.6 acre portion of the former Knights of Columbus site as shown on map C, subject to the review and approval of the Corporation Council.
Second on that?
Second.
All right, so discussion. Okay, so we're at that point again. So feel free to what happened the other day.
As far as our meeting the other day, it was to basically discuss the ramifications of carving out the 4-acre, the additional piece that's encumbered by the conservation easement on the 824 review that was done by planning and zoning, as well as the site plan application that had already been received by Housing Authority back, I forget exactly the date. Helen, myself, and Joe met. Attorney D'Onofrio was on the phone, and there had been some question about whether there would be a need for an additional or a new 824 review by the planning and zoning. And I think, and I won't put words into Attorney D'Onofrio's mouth, but that there would not be a need for an additional 824 review, in that the project in question is not changing other than lopping off a portion of it. So it's not as though you're increasing the scope of what dealing with town property is. You're actually reducing it. So the 824 review, second 824 review, would not be necessary. In terms of a site plan application, it's a similar argument. While the planning and zoning approved the site plan application as it had all some odd acres, the lopping off of that piece, because it's a separate piece from the original parcel, and Mayor, you spent 16 years on the Planning and Zoning Commission, that it wouldn't be affecting any of the parcel that the buildings are going to be on. None of that configuration is different. You can, in fact, almost draw a line right across the map. Now, whether a new map would eventually be needed if a site plan application or a new site plan application was given based on that smaller piece, for cleanliness sake, for the application for financing or things like that, that may in fact be necessary, as well as perhaps just a cleaner map so that there's no question going forward what is involved with the transfer. And Joe, are here. Jeff, if you want to add anything
Anything to
that.
add to that?
Just a little bit of clarification.
Yep.
My recommendation is, if the town and the housing authority go down this path, to file an amended map, site plan with P&Z, because there's a special permit involved. And also, Wetlands has advised that all that they would require with regard to their permit to conduct is a letter advising of the amendment. So there's no setback issues, there's no zoning compliance issues that would be created by deleting the 4 acres. It's a straight map amendment.
Okay. And I know we had this conversation today, so we were going to talk about what that might cost to the housing authority just to submit. Yeah, so if you have those figures.
Okay, well, first off, before we get to cost.
Yes, okay.
Time frame.
Yes.
Okay, because we're already approaching the 1 year
Yes.
starting clock.
Right.
And if we have to go through, a certain portion of that time in zoning, we're
Right.
going to have to be back here in October of 2017 to.
Yeah.
One meeting, if that.
Helen?
Helen, I think it would be one meeting.
Again, my consultants also need time to prepare the maps and
Yes.
stuff like that. So this is not, we can meet tomorrow and have it go away. There's time that's going to be required here. So having a 1 year option does not meet, we're already setting this up to fail because we're not going to meet a 1 year option for financing. Okay, because we won't be able to initiate financing until the modification process is complete and we have something official from the town saying that the modification is approved, at which point we can then move forward.
When's
to
the
apply
next
for
planning and
financing.
zoning meeting?
Thursday, and then we don't meet again until the first Thursday in November. But I'm sure that the commission would be agreeable to have some special meeting if I can obtain a quorum. We're happy to do that. The only issue is, like Attorney DeNorfrio said, is a special permit, so I have to have notice requirements, which is about 2 weeks ahead. Does she need to be on the microphone? You need to be on the microphone. And I tell people this all the time.
Yeah, we do.
Attorney DeNorfrio is correct in saying that it is a special permit, so that right there is, a 2 week ahead of time for us to do proper legal notice. I told the housing authority that I would be happy to take over doing the notice requirements, sending them out, that sort of thing on their behalf. But it is a statutory notice requirement that would take about 2 weeks in advance. Otherwise, we're pretty slim in our meetings for the next 3 months. But as long as I have a quorum, I think we would certainly call a special meeting.
And would just for the sake of, that's your business, so to amend this map, is that a huge undertaking by a surveyor or architect or whoever's amending the map?
The survey is already done
Okay.
because the part that's being taken off is already a separate lot, or the part that's being proposed to take off is already a separate lot.
Okay.
So it's a matter of just taking that back off. What the surveyor would have to do is then just redraw proposed lines from where the proposed, or draw lines from where the proposed buildings are to the new property line. Not too complicated. The only other thing they might have to do is address the building coverages. And again, it's not real complicated these days with computer programming that does that. They would just plug in the new size of the lot, and it would calculate the coverage based on losing this 4 acres.
And is that all they would need to do to come before the special meeting of the planning and zoning, if we can do that?
To summarize, they would need to work on having a map prepared. Once I schedule a public meeting, I would follow the statutory timelines of when I need to send those letters out. We already have the list from when they came before the commission the first time. I would double check that in the assessors. I would mail out the letters of notice to the adjacent property owners, which is everyone within 500 feet, and then we would schedule the hearing.
And you
So
can help them with whatever they, whatever.
I'm happy to help them any way I possibly can. It's a great project. We want to see it go forward.
We all agree.
Happy to do anything to help.
Right. So conceivably, that meeting, if it occurs in October, would be...
It would have to be at the end of
Okay.
Well, where are we now? What are we now? Middle of September?
October,
Yeah,
beginning of
we're
October.
at the 4th of October, so
4th,
yeah. Yeah, I would have to, what I would almost have to do is know the meeting date by this Thursday when I meet with the commission,
Okay.
so I could have them schedule a date.
Right.
And, have them schedule, and then also pick a date for a quorum, And then I think, we would be fine. The end of October sometime.
Right. And I guess going forward, maybe this is for Attorney D'Onofrio, but with the conservation easement, that's not going away anytime soon, correct? Which would hold up their
Well,
project?
you don't
or
have
no?
any control over the timing, so
Okay.
to sit here and say you'll be able to get a release of the open space agreement prior to when you'd be able to get the amended map approved
Right.
is speculation.
Okay.
You just don't have any control over the timing of it.
Which would stall their project?
It has so far, sure.
Right, okay. Okay. Yes, sir, Joe, how are you tonight?
Good.
Good.
So anyways, one of our concerns,
Yes.
I just spoke to some of the commissioners, is the time frame. We do not feel a one-year option is sufficient to accommodate what we need to do, both from the modification of the site plan and to move forward with the financing portion of this project. That being said, my engineers also have other work they need to do, so I don't think me calling them tomorrow and saying, hey, I need a map by Thursday is kind of in the realm of possibility.
They want to
I
get,
will
you know,
try. I will try.
They're in
but, you know,
business. If they
are in
want
business,
to work
yes.
for you, I guess maybe that's what they have
But
to do sometimes.
we are going to
but,
need
yeah.
some wiggle room there.
Mhm.
Running the numbers, last council meeting I was here, I was asked basically to, what are the costs that we're looking at. So option number one, basically if you guys want to scuttle this project, we would need to cover $327,964.
But, okay, but that's not, I wouldn't even go there. That's
Okay.
not
Well, I'm
anything
just-
we're
I'm
looking to do.
providing
Yeah.
information to the
We're not-
council.
That's not something
All
we're
right,
looking to do.
in terms of option
Yeah.
number two,
Yep.
the town retaining the 4 acres.
Right.
The original 8.2 acre parcel as provided by the town was appraised for $1.225 million in June of 2015. In order to move forward with this process, just to let you know, my consultants have a hourly rate of $125 to $150 an hour. I didn't want to itemize, but that's the range that we're looking at here. So for every meeting they need to attend, there's going to be a cost. The lawyers are between $250 and $350 an hour. Basically, what we need to do in order to accomplish this 4 acre situation and also accommodate, updating all our documents and everything, we need to have an updated Phase 1 environmental survey, which would cost approximately $5,000. Now, these are conservative figures, taking into account, we're not sure what we're getting into at the time I requested these.
Why would you need
So-
updated environmental? We're not changing the piece of property you're building on. Why would we have to do that? We're taking a piece away.
The
which could be-
the environmental assessment was performed on all 8 acres. The report is all referenced to 8 acres. So,
Can I just ask
Yeah.
you a quick question?
Mhm.
So on the map, I'm seeing 4.6 and 4, so.
yes.
8.6, but you said 8.2. Is there 0.4 acres going somewhere else, or?
Again, we're dealing with, numbers flying back and
Okay,
forth.
no,
so
I'm
don't
just
hold me
trying to
the
figure out what's
exact-
going
yeah,
on.
yeah.
Okay, all right,
Roughly,
gotcha.
we're bisecting the parcel in half.
Got it,
So
okay, all right. So
yeah.
nothing,
Yeah.
okay.
It's
Gotcha.
a little over 8. We're basically taking 4
Yeah.
away. Yeah, I mean, that, right?
Yeah,
That's about-
to keep
that's
it
about-
simple. I mean,
Yeah.
we're not getting into the.
I appreciate the simple.
So,
Thank you,
I guess, Joe, this is where we...
Oh, let me go through. Let me
Yeah,
go
but
through the
before,
process.
before you do, though,
Mhm.
we talked about today working with town staff, and we've tried to expedite this for you. Nobody on the town staff, I don't believe our attorney does either, they can speak for themselves, though. All these things you say you need, we don't agree that you need any of that.
Okay.
So I don't know what your consultants are telling you. I don't know who they are, but I'm dealing with professionals in the town, land use attorneys, and we disagree. This is not as complicated as I think we're making it. from what I understand of planning and zoning myself
I think
after
you're
16 years.
oversimplifying the process.
I don't
And
think so.
I'm not
I
talking
don't
about,
think so.
I'm not talking about simply from the standpoint of the zoning.
Yes.
All right, I'm talking about.
But the rest of
moving
it's not
forward.
done anyway, correct? I mean, there's no financing in place, there's nothing done,
There's
right?
no financing, but the
Okay.
forms have all been filled out and paid for, you
Right,
know.
right.
The market study, like I said, the phase one references the 8 acres, so we need
Okay.
to modify that to reference the new size of the
Okay.
parcel.
Yeah.
Okay, we need an updated market study, again, referencing the correct numbers at post modification. That's gonna cost $5,200. Updated traffic study, $3,100. Updated appraisals, $2,000. New soil testing, if, you know, that moves forward under phase one, $11,200. Cost to modify the survey, $5,000. Cost to amend the site plan is $5,000. Legal review of changes and the other items is $5,000. You know, there's some carrying costs regarding debt and other things that run up to $2,750. So, you know, you're
Just
talking.
out of curiosity, why would you need a new traffic study? That makes no sense.
Again, everything was predicated on
Yeah.
the original site plan and the site plan.
But you're not
approval.
changing the density, you're not changing anything. In fact, you're taking 4 acres away, and
Again-
certainly that 4 acres does not add any traffic or take away any traffic.
You guys are modifying the site.
Yes,
All the paperwork produced
right.
referencing this 8-acre parcel is now going to have to be modified. Otherwise, we're going to
Yeah, I
we're
guess
going
you-
to financing
according to
with
who,
a
though?
traffic
According
study.
to who?
We're going to financing with a traffic study that references an 8-acre parcel.
Right.
All right, and instead it's a 4-acre parcel. Right.
Yeah, so the
Now,
traffic would be less, I guess. but
Again, our
nobody's on that
attorney,
4 acre. Yeah.
you know, has some issues with the 824 because
Uh-huh.
again, it was
Same.
presented to the public from this town.
Right.
That was an 8-acre parcel. It's not going to be a 4-acre parcel.
Understand.
So, I mean, you know, we just had a discussion earlier on about,
Right.
you know, being upfront with the public and
Yes.
having, you know, full disclosure as to what's going on.
Right.
So, you know, there's other issues here that still, you know, we need to resolve. Like I said, we're looking basically between $50,000 and $75,000 to modify what we need to modify in order to get this through the process and to financing so we can successfully finance the project. Right?
Would your attorney be willing the next day or two to talk to our town attorney?
I will give him a call
Is
tomorrow.
that
and-
something, Mr.
Yes.
D'Onofrio,
Sure.
that you would happily do? What do you think about what you just heard from Joe?
Well, if that's, I don't know what the source is of requiring an updated phase one, an updated traffic study.
The source is from
Updated
the
soil analysis.
consultant we hired to do the financing, the Women's Institute.
I mean, that's who I need to talk to then.
Okay, so that would be the person then?
Okay.
Okay.
And as I discussed with you today, I've already provided her with Mr. D'Onofrio's information, so she can make contact with him to have
I
some
mean, because
discussions
even
about
if you
this.
went forward and we exercised the option as it stands,
Mhm.
we already know, I guess since January, maybe, of this year, we've had trouble with the conservation easement. We haven't been able to remove it, correct?
I have known since July of this year, of past year, 2015.
The past year.
Yeah, excuse me, 2016.
Oh, okay.
2016, that
But-
there was a problem with the conservation easement.
We haven't
Um,
been successful at getting it removed, even
Correct.
despite town staff, our state rep, DEEP, everyone has tried to get this accomplished.
Correct.
So my concern is that we let it go forward as it is, and nothing's going to happen there for another year. Whereas this, if we cut that piece out, you are free and clear to move forward as quickly as possible. I just don't, I don't understand. That's the easier solution in my mind, as a discussion with town staff too.
It's the easier solution. The problem is cost, and I don't have the money to cover the cost of that solution. And that's is our discussion earlier
Yeah,
today
we've had that
was,
too. I
yes,
understand that.
You know,
So,
again, under the state statutes, the housing authority, the monies we have in
Mm-hmm.
our bank accounts are reserved for the properties we currently have.
right.
The money we spent
Right.
was obtained through fundraising
Yeah,
by
no, I
myself
understand.
and
I
others to
understand,
gather the necessary funds to move
Right.
forward with the pre-development funding. The town, again, provided the property.
Right.
So, you know, I don't have any money to move ahead with these consultant.
Now,
no,
what
the
funds
consultant
would
work.
you spend to take time to get rid of that conservation easement? Wouldn't you have to expend some funds on that as well going forward for the
Wouldn't
next
be-
year?
No, it wouldn't be on me, it would be on the town. It's the town's
Okay.
property, the town's responsible to clear the easement.
Yeah. Which, it's gonna cost us money to do that.
Correct.
Yeah. So another reason to cut that piece off, but. So we kind of dispute the costs is what we're disputing now perhaps. So do you
Well,
have any problem with
I would
cutting?
recommend saying up to a certain amount, and I
Yeah.
could gladly
Yeah, yeah.
provide you the invoices once
Yeah.
we're in the process of getting these documents modified. Because
Yeah,
again,
we could check
at the
that.
time I talked to the consultants on this,
Right.
we didn't have a clear understanding whether we're going with the modification
Yeah.
internally or going through the process. So there,
Right.
you know, we basically took a worst case scenario and came up with some numbers.
I got you.
So, you know, is it going to be $5,000 for an updated Phase 1? Probably not, but that's what we're going to budget for. I'm more than willing to provide you the invoices and have those funds paid directly, and, you know, I'm good with that. So, but the problem is, I just don't have the funds to do that. And going into financing, it would behoove us to have documents that actually match the project that's
No, I mean,
is
the
proposed.
map has to be changed,
Yeah.
it has to be modified, I certainly understand that.
Yep.
But I do disagree with your consultants, and I'm sure they're very learned people, I understand that, but with all that work, when we're taking a piece away that has not one single bit of your project on it, it wouldn't affect traffic, it wouldn't affect anything. That project's contained on that 4 acres or so.
No, but if you read the actual traffic study, there's a lot of information there that pertains to the entire parcel, not just to the
Right.
traffic.
But as
So,
we have
you know,
discussed, that property is not being built on, would be difficult to build on, and it's got a conservation easement on it, so
I understand.
the traffic study, if it,
But
and I know when they did it, we
moving
didn't know
fo-
about the conservation easement, right?
Moving forward, yes. Moving forward,
Yeah.
and, you know, let me back up a little bit.
Yep,
And I know there's been some confusion, I guess is a good word to describe as to how this whole process unfolded. So, the Housing Authority did not request 8 acres of land. We didn't request 4 acres of land. We approached the town back in 2011, 2010, I don't know exactly when, asking for a parcel of land upon which we could construct some housing for seniors. All right?
Okay.
At that point, through Mr. Mahoney and the council at the time, we came up with, or they came up with and offered us this 8-acre parcel, which was a combination of the excess land left over from the soccer field and from the Knights of Columbus.
And that 8 acres originally was only the size that the Kensington, the Knights of Columbus was on. The additional acreage was looked at last year only because they were unsure of the, where the buildings would have to be. So
Correct.
there was the additional 4 acres put in just in case. And all of the buildings fit on the original parcel after all.
when did we finally approve this plan in planning and zoning?
I'm going to say March of 2015, thereabouts.
Is that about right?
Yeah, that sounds about
Okay,
right.
and that was with the 4 acres added,
Correct.
not knowing about the conservation easement at that time, right?
Correct.
The 4 acres was not added
Until
per
last
se.
year.
The 8 acres was original from the get-go,
Yeah,
because
I think
every site
that's
plan we moved forward was 8 acres. There was never an addition done.
Was that added, or was it
I thought it was
original?
I don't think it was that.
I could be
Yeah,
wrong,
I
but
don't know, we're just trying to get to the bottom of it.
I got plans. So
Because
the
we
site
talked
plan-
about
yeah,
that ridge for
Yeah.
a long time.
Yeah.
So
That was-
I think it was
Yeah, because as part
maybe
of,
not initially from 2011 or 2012, but I know
Yeah, I don't know about
when in
originally.
discussions
Maybe
we
on
Well,
the
when you
had
saw
that.
it, it may have been on there, but I don't think originally.
Yes, Helen?
well, we did a development
just-
study on the whole 8 acres. So we
I
paid
think
for a
that's
development
right.
study
Yeah.
that indicated.
On the whole 8
On the whole 8
acres.
acres, because I specifically remember the study on that 4-acre portion, and basically the engineer said there's a lot of ledge, there's a
And
lot
there
of
was
other stuff there,
wetlands.
there's wetlands you gotta cross, so we could put a building there, but it would be prohibitively expensive due to blasting
Yeah.
to
That's
put a
right.
building there and to cross the wetlands. So there was a development study done before we even moved into the site plan approval process. So that 8 acres, my recollection was from the get-go, one entire parcel.
From the town planner's memory, can you just come up, Helen? Just so we get everybody on the same page, that's all we're trying to do, Joe, to go forward. No, don't go anywhere, you don't need to. Don't sit down, you got more to say.
And I am going from memory,
Yes, I
but
get
we
it.
have been talking about this for quite a while.
Yes,
Because they didn't know what they were building there, we had the parcel, it was about 8 acres.
Okay.
So the town council said, okay, well, here's 8 acres, go see what you want to do with it. When they did their study, they found out about the wetlands and the difficulty in crossing and everything. And their site plan now only is on that 4 acres because otherwise they have to cross wetlands to move forward. So when it came back to you
Yep.
a year or so ago,
To
I
plan.
raised the issue of why, now that I have a site plan that's been approved, and our contract with them has capped them at 50 units, period.
Okay.
Why are we still handing over this additional 4 acres?
Right.
And because I don't know
It's
why
confusing.
they decided a year ago.
Because we're here where we are.
Right. But Mr. Bajorski convinced the commission that he still needed the 8 acres based on things that he's saying tonight. As far as, I'm not, again, like you, I'm not the traffic consultant, but it's the same site plan, it's the same amount of traffic, it's the same number of buildings. So I think if developers had the cost that Mr. Bajorski is having, no building would ever get done in Connecticut, because the traffic studies I've seen, when the land slightly changes, they just go back in and write a preface to the beginning of the traffic study and say, we have changed the acreage to this size now, but it has no impact on the number of buildings, the number of parking, the number. So I don't know what his consultants are telling him, but I've seen plenty of amended traffic studies. As far as the environmental study, I imagine that's being done because of maybe time, but again, it's lopping off, so they would just, it's an amended study, so I don't know. I'm happy to keep this moving, and move it along, but the reason we started with 8 was because they didn't know where they were going to be able to place the buildings. Once they knew, and they came back and requested that they still be able to have the additional 4, and some argued why when you're capped at 50 anyway, and that's what you're building. But the council proceeded, and here we are now again.
Yeah, okay. And again, all of this preceded the conservation easement.
Yes.
We didn't know.
And we had no idea
We
about
didn't
the
know, I know. That's what
yeah,
precipitated
no
this
one
whole...
knew about the
This
conservation.
whole issue,
Yes.
which
Yes.
we all agree upon. That's why we're here, where we're at, so...
And the conservation easement was discovered in July of 2015, and which led to the meetings.
To where we're at, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I get it. We get it. Okay. So, yes, sir.
No, go ahead.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Just had a question on your pre-development funds. Was there any contingency built into those pre-development funds?
I do not know. I don't have them memorized, but I'll check with the consultants and see where we're at in terms of that. I'm assuming there might have been some contingency, but I don't know the specific language referencing that.
You indicated that that you don't have any funds left, and so that's why, or I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I just wanted to see what contingencies left there, so that maybe it's not 75,000 that you need, maybe it's 10,000. So
I will check with them to see if there's any contingency in there, but to the best of my knowledge, we have pretty much expended or encumbered what's left in the funds.
A couple of questions I have. One is, I think we may have discussed a couple of years ago, was there any plans to expand, to build additional buildings, or you were just looking at that one building that would have the 120, whatever
Well, there's
units?
two buildings
Yep.
for a total of 50 units.
Okay.
The town requested and we agreed to a deed restriction limiting to
Okay.
50 units.
Okay.
So per the deed restriction, we're already maxed out.
Okay.
Through physical restrictions because of the wetlands, we can't access that
That land,
ledge
okay.
to construct any
So-
additional housing.
My next question is, if the town agrees to cover any costs that may be associated with this, and I'm not saying we're going to, but, if we have that discussion and there's a reasonable cost differential, whether it's trying to deal with the easement or pay for whatever you may need to redo plans, would you, as a commission, be comfortable with the 4.6 acres?
Yeah, as I told the mayor, I'm more than comfortable to work, with that 4.6 acres. If the site fits on that site plan. The problem I'm having is
moving
the
forward.
process and the cost of the process. And, you know, up until tonight, we didn't really have a clear indication as to what the process was going to be. There was still some back and forth whether it was going to be handled internally or gone through a formal process. So, now
And
that
you know,
that's-
at no time, or just remember, this is something that popped up. We're kind of left dealing with it. This, to answer Housing Authority member, you know, at no time was there's no reason. I mean, we want this project, we approved it, we're all in favor of it. We're trying to do it as expeditiously as possible with what we're stuck with that easement. That's really where we're at. The town doesn't necessarily have plans for that land. It sounds like it may not be buildable anyway, so it is what it is. But, you know, to me, as a council member, I wouldn't be in favor of giving away 4 acres just to give away 4 acres. I don't think that's good business for the town to do it if you don't need it. And apparently, nothing in the plans indicate anything that you need that 4 acres.
No.
And with the conservation easement stuck on it, and we've been trying to get rid of it, working diligently since January, we haven't been successful. So I don't know why we would keep working down that road that we have been unsuccessful at.
No, the problem is,
Right?
the problem is the process of separating the 4 acres from the rest of the parcel.
Well, I mean, that's
You
where
know,
we're at. That was another,
correct.
that's the
And,
other
you
option
know,
that we
so
brought up.
it's not
Right.
necessarily.
Yeah. I mean, it's another option.
It's not, well, it's not necessarily a process, you know, us working against the process, not
Yeah.
wanting to give up the land. It's,
Yeah.
you know, the logistics behind it.
Right,
and
I get
who
it.
covers
but
the
I mean,
cost.
it seems like that it's, we'll see what the costs come out to be and we'll figure that out, but it
Mm-hmm.
seems like it's more expeditious to cut that piece out and let you guys move forward and get this thing going than try and fight a conservation easement with DEP, which who knows where that goes.
Based on the
Whatever.
amount of time we've expended and
Yeah.
accomplished nothing on, I
Yeah.
would say that's probably a fair indication.
Okay,
I
so
think the
that-
only
If you
other
have the
short.
funding to do so,
If
which
we
I
have the
think
funding
is
to do
where
so.
this ultimately comes down
Correct.
to. And I will say,
Yeah.
I'm not comfortable moving on the motion that we just moved on, because it does not talk about that cost. And,
No, I agree.
you know, I would not want to do that and then leave you guys in a situation where, you know, the town reneges and says, and we're not paying for that, and then
Correct.
you guys have no funding, and then our seniors are the ones who are ultimately, you know, shortchanged. So
Correct.
either we find out what the cost is, and
Well, that's
as
what
a town,
that's
okay,
what I've
all right.
suggested our attorney do.
So
But-
we not move on this then tonight,
Well,
is what you're saying,
Yeah,
right?
well, we're not done yet, but Charlie, do you have something to say?
There were so many numbers. What's the total estimate for this change?
75,000, 50 to 75,000 in that ballpark.
And is anybody have a wild guess what it might be to remove this easement?
The process that needs to be done is according to what we have determined from the Department of Environmental Protection, or the, I forget who else is involved, OPM. We would have to give an equal valued parcel of land to substitute for this parcel of land. So we would need to do appraisals of this parcel with the conservation easement, and then find another parcel of ours in the town of a approximate equal value, 1 or 2, and have that appraised so that they would then be able to determine whether or not it's a fair swap. Since they have the conservation easement, they're not about to give it without us encumbering another piece of property somewhere in town.
To release that one.
To release that one.
Yeah.
That's
Does the
my
housing-
understanding of the process.
Does housing have a
So that doesn't
preference?
cost us anything.
Well, appraisals cost money. but-
I mean, you know, as I said before, I suggested, and I don't know if it's viable or not, I've not received feedback that anybody's floated across DEP, was changing the
My
grant
question is,
toward-
regardless of the money, does housing have a preference on whether to retain the property or give it up?
At this point, if we don't have a preference one or the other, as long as we can move forward. And, you know, moving forward by giving up the 4 acres means we need to get our costs covered. And, you know, lifting the conservation easement, if that moves us forward at a lower cost, we're fine with that too. But just, you know, we need
Well,
some clarity as to what the direction is and who's going to cover the costs. And,
That's the question.
you know,
The
that's
time
where we're at.
It's costing everybody money, I'm sure.
It is.
And what I'm hearing tonight, we'd spend $10,000 or $15,000 exchanging that easement for another piece of property, which may or may not happen.
Correct.
And we'd be giving up about 4 acres of land somewhere else for a savings of about $65,000, if I'm catching everything correctly.
I believe so.
I too would like a better refinement from your expert on what it's gonna cost to alter it, but it sounds like altering it would be the best bet for everybody. And this is a project that needs to get done. I just want to have a project the housing authority is happy with. I don't want to chop off the acreage and say, oh, we really needed it. I want
What I need is a conservation easement removed. How we accomplish that is,
So
you
you're
know,
okay
the
if we
discussion.
remove the land
Yeah,
from the
but
deal?
the problem, you know, again,
If-
that
if-
goes with the caveat
I
that,
understand.
you know,
I'm
our costs
saying
are covered.
The
So-
project will basically be the same. You'll still get your 50 units.
Correct.
With or without that piece.
Correct.
And what I'm hearing tonight is, do we want to spend 50 or 60,000 to get rid of that piece? Or do we want to spend money to keep it? And, that's
Money's
kind
gonna
of
get
our
spent
choice.
either way. The question is how much and, you know.
I understand.
Can I ask one more question? Just one more question on your financing for this. That will not be jeopardized because the appraisal will go down? Because if it was a 1.2 million appraisal for 8 acres, you're probably, you know, approved based on that appraisal. Is that in jeopardy at all?
Can't build on those 4
Okay.
acres with that conservation easement.
Okay, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't, I just
Well,
want
this
to
is,
make sure
this is
there's.
where the
okay.
updated appraisal is gonna come
That's
into.
value as excess land. That's
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Who actually found the easement?
Our attorney.
The attorney?
Yeah, we were
So-
preparing for closing and they did a title search.
So it was on the land record?
It was on the land records.
Nobody else noticed that?
Apparently not.
We better change it to red letters or something so you can find it.
Easements generally aren't found unless you're doing a title search for a closing, so that's the process that it followed.
And, you know, in all deference to town, the way this easement was written is not like a standard easement. This is more like an umbrella easement that covers about, an off chance, 30 different properties. So if you were, you know, being the state.
Thank
they-
you, the state, yeah.
Yeah, you know, they
we get
didn't
it.
just come up with one specific easement for one
Yeah.
specific parcel. They kind of lumped everything together. And Percival being, starting with a P, ended up somewhere, you know, at the bottom of the paragraph of properties that are encumbered by this easement.
Okay, so it sounds like we're all council members, everyone here is at least on the same page as where we're at. We know we have a couple different options. I wonder if we can get Mr. D'Onofrio, our town attorney, to talk to whoever you deem appropriate, Joe.
I
about
will
these-
put him in
about these-
contact with Ellen Flanagan. She's
Okay.
our financial consultant.
As
slash
quickly as
guru.
possible, like tomorrow if
Yes.
possible.
Yes.
And, you know, because we don't, none of this is to delay anything. It's been delayed anyway, so we're here. We're going to work through it and fix it, get it right, get it going. So if we can start with that, so if we have a little bit better feel for the cost is what I hear, of whatever it might be. There seems to be a wide range, so.
The other option, the
Yep.
other issue with the option is the time frame,
Right.
because I don't want to be
Get it.
back here next
Right.
October
Yeah.
running through this again.
Yeah,
And,
no,
you
we
know,
get that. No, we get it.
It's going
we
to
get
take
it.
us roughly a year to get the financing done. So
Yeah.
right now, I mean, even if we start tomorrow, we're not going to make
Now, just
October of 2017.
2015
Mm-hmm.
to now,
Mm-hmm.
had the easement not been found, we would have been on our way to financing,
You
or
know,
no?
the ironic thing is, I got a letter today from Department of Housing. The governor announced $55 million in awards.
I saw that in the news, I think,
Well,
yeah.
we would have been one of those
Oh, boy,
properties.
huh?
So, to add insult to injury, instead
Yeah.
of getting money, I'm standing here arguing
Wow.
for an additional year.
So had the easement not messed it up, you
We
would have
would've
been
been fi- we
ready to
would've
go.
been ready to
And
go.
so, let's just say you got that financing today that was announced, again, another year after more than a year, I guess a year and a half
Mhm.
since we approved it.
Mhm.
When would the first shovel go in the ground, out of curiosity?
That's a
Another
good
year?
question. No, because part of the financing package requires certain timeframes, and
Okay, yeah.
has us have to go out for the bids and stuff like that. So there's,
Right.
you know, there's some periods of time that run concurrently and
Yeah.
other ones run consecutively. So
Right.
it's we probably wouldn't be another year, but we'd probably have contractors lined up. We would have chosen people, signed contracts, and then it's just a matter of getting everything spun up and, you know, closing the financing package and getting that funded, and then, you know, spinning up the contractors, getting them ready to go.
Good. Well, we know we need more senior housing. We're going to get that accomplished. So let's if we could table this.
If you table it,
Or
you take it up again in
withdraw
the
the
same
motion.
meeting.
We'll withdraw, yeah, if we can withdraw.
But we
the
don't have
motion.
another meeting before October 31st.
Well, I'm wondering if
We
we
don't?
could, no, well, we
have a
do, we do.
special meeting,
The 13th.
but
Oh, we have the 8th.
Yeah, we
We
should
have,
have one.
we have
should
two,
another
actually.
one.
We have two.
It's not regularly scheduled.
We have a special meeting and we have a regular meeting, but we could also do a special meeting. You know, we'll do whatever it takes
You're right,
to get
right,
this
right.
done
It's only
timely.
October 4th. Yes.
Right, it's October 4th. We have plenty, not plenty of time, I don't mean that, but we have time and we will get it accomplished. But
Don't push us too far.
I want to make sure we get it to planning and zoning if that's the route we go. I'm not saying that's the route we're going to go. I don't know the route we're going to go. A lot of that will depend upon costs, I imagine, and that's what you and I, Joe, have spoken
Oh,
about,
you know,
so.
again, as I spoke to you today, I
Yeah,
also have
yeah.
transparency concerns, because again,
Yeah.
we've gone through a public process.
Yeah.
I've stood in front of 60 irate neighbors,
Yeah.
explaining to them how this project is all gonna work, and
I
now
get it.
we're significantly modifying that project, so.
Well, you could tell them actually if they're angry that it's a smaller project now. They should be happy. It's less land. I mean, it's not changing the
Same
units
project.
any. It's not changing anything.
Same project.
Yeah,
No.
it's the same.
it's the same project.
It's the same thing. So I
They
don't
won't
that.
see the difference.
I just
Public hearing on the site plan.
so.
Again, under the proposals that were made,
Yeah.
you know, there was every indication that that property would be part of, the 8 acres would be
No,
an
I
8 acre
know. I
parcel.
know.
So,
I mean,
you know,
I remember from planning and zoning what was talked
Correct.
about, and I know it's unfortunate that it went down this road. But again, through no fault of anyone, but
Right, we've had,
a state,
you know.
a state conservation easement. So
Yes.
we can blame the state. We like blaming the state, so we'll blame the state tonight.
sounds good.
It's no one's fault. That's we are where we are, and we just can move forward and hopefully fix it and get it moving. That's what we want to do. Okay, is everybody somewhat happy? Maybe.
Mayor?
Yeah, we're gonna get there. We'll get there, folks. We're not. We'll get there. Okay, so the motion is
Withdraw.
withdrawn.
Yeah, move
And-
to withdraw. Do we have to make a motion?
Motion to
You
withdraw.
just
or
let it
no?
die,
action,
no action.
Okay, so no action taken.
Mayor, I just
Yes.
suggest that we're specific that we need to understand the cost.
Yes.
I do want an accounting of where we are to date and what the contingency was planned to see that the work was done in
That's from the
accordance with the
Housing
plan
Authority.
from the Housing Authority. What
Okay.
was the contingency?
Okay.
Have we expended any of that contingency? Some of those specifics would be helpful as we address the costs.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need the whole cost picture, Joe, and I know you have that, and you'll provide that, and hopefully Mr. D'Onofrio, when he speaks to your consultant today or tomorrow, whenever he can, tomorrow or the next day, whenever he can get a hold of them.
And again, from the housing authority standpoint, we would appreciate a letter outlining the process.
Oh, yeah, I know, yeah, but
Yes.
once we, yeah, well, that's easy. That's
Yeah.
the easiest thing now.
Okay.
That's easy. Let's
Yes.
just make sure we know which direction, I mean, either direction, we'll try and pick the most expeditious one.
Yes.
And most cost-effective one to get it moving. That's what we want to accomplish. So we will leave it with, just so we're clear, I want to be clear, Mr. D'Onofrio, right, you're going to give him the number of whoever the appropriate person is.
Ellen Flanagan.
Okay, and
Should
I
you
will,
call me? I don't have a
phone number.
Yeah, I will
Yeah.
email that information to him. and
Okay,
what he
great,
thought.
and we will get that done, and we have a couple meetings left. We can do another meeting in October if we have to. So there's time for us to act, time for you, we have some time, not much, right, to get a planning and zoning meeting accomplished. Okay. So
And
today
then-
is Tuesday. I really hope, my wish is if I could have what I wanted by Friday this week, I'd like to at least informally know through Joe, through our attorney, what these costs might be on either route, so we can make that determination and have plenty of time to have either, if we go the carve-out method, we know what that'll cost. If we go the other way, we know, so we can get it going. I mean, that's my wish list. To keep us get this moving as quickly as possible.
I concur. The other, like I said, the only other option I would offer is, again, checking with DEP or the commissioner or someone about, swapping out the grantors. I think that would probably be the cheapest and least what do you call it?
Exploring that.
Okay, we are looking at that.
Yeah,
Denise
so-
tells me, so good.
I mean, that would be the third option.
Yeah, okay, well, so there's a third option. Let's
Yeah.
not get too many options, because
Okay.
we want to get this done quickly, but that's
Very
okay.
good.
That's another option we can explore, but.
When would I anticipate having to get my engineer spun up to modify the site plan? Because he's going to need a little
Yeah,
notice on that.
depending upon,
Yeah, the sooner
Well,
you
nothing's
get
gonna happen until you meet again,
right.
Okay.
Now,
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
next week, our special meeting, we couldn't consider this?
It's a public hearing.
It would
Okay.
probably not be an appropriate combination.
Well, I get that,
Senior
but,
housing.
Sorry.
well, you know, maybe it is, I don't know, I mean, whatever, it is what it is, I mean, a lot of things happen in town, I guess. So next meeting would be the week after. That might be, I'm worried about that's too long a time, but I guess we'll see how it goes. Would it,
4 more days.
okay, all right, well, all right, we'll be mindful of our time frame, and if we have to call a special meeting, how much time do we need for a special meeting?
24 hours.
Oh, okay, oh, great, so I could just call up today and say I want one in 24 hours? That's great, okay.
The agenda has
Just
to-
kidding. We'll try to do that, but I'm serious, I mean, I'm kidding, but I mean, if we gotta do it, we'll do it. I mean, I think it's that important to get it done, so. I mean, I joke, but I am serious that if we can do one quickly, if we need to, and not wait, and we know, what we need to vote on, then we'll do it. If we gotta wait till the next town council meeting, we will. Yeah, I just wanna make sure we're all on the same page, while we're all here and everybody has had their opportunity. We hear you, we understand, we're with you, so we'll get it done. We'll get it done, okay?
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank all of you.
Have a nice day.
Appreciate it. Okay. Okay, well, so that was item number 1, sorry. Number 2. Thank you.
As the council knows, the town opened the Kensington Orchards open space area and parking lot in September of last year. It was dedicated. The 55 acres of open spaces adjacent to Hatchery Brook, Bicentennial Park, and recently acquired Chukowski property. Were improvements done by Coastline Enterprises, and the owners are Berlin residents. Their son Brendan worked on a project while he was on break from his studies. And if you look at the beautiful, I thought he was going to be here this evening so that the
Yeah, that's
council
great.
could actually thank.
It's really nice.
The value is approximately $1,500 of that gate, and it really has made, if you go by it, you can notice it as you drive by. Even I noticed it when it was up. The town needs to accept that donation.
Okay, so take a motion on that?
Sure. Move to accept the donation of a decorative gate for Kensington Orchards from Brendan McClarty and Coastal Enterprises.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Beautiful gate, beautiful job.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Number 3.
This is the purchase of the replacement of the mobile data transmitters, the MDTs in the police cruisers that are 4 years old, worn out, and out of warranty. The department has tested 3 different replacement options to find the best that would be both technically and ergonomically fitting. The product they selected is the Dell 7202, and the total cost is of the hardware of 18 MDTs is $53,699.88, and with mounting and installation, it's additional $22,198.53 for a total of $75,898.41. This is all on the State of Connecticut DAS contract, and Deputy Chief Klett is here to answer any questions, should there be any from the council.
Okay. A motion on this?
Move to approve the purchase and installation of Dell ruggedized MTDs, I've never heard that word before, consoles and related equipment from MHQ Inc. of Middletown, Connecticut, under state contract number 16 PSX 0033 for a price not to exceed $75,898.41.
Guys, a second on that?
Second.
Is there some discussion on this, or everybody good? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
He's disappointed
Just
that
sat
nobody
through
asked
all
him
of
any
that.
questions.
Well, there's still one more if you want to talk
there's
to it. And if we got one more, number 4.
One more. This is the agenda item to purchase 4 new police vehicles from Tasca Ford, utilizing the State of Connecticut Department of Administrative Services contract. Jim Simons is recommending the purchase of 2017 Ford Utility Police Interceptors. Their funding is split between the two accounts, the police vehicles and the capital non-recurring police vehicles, for a total amount of $55,238.
Okay, motion on this?
Excuse me. Move to purchase four 2017 Ford Utility Police Interceptors from Tasca Ford, utilizing the State of Connecticut DAS Services Contract, number 12 PSX 0194, as they are the low bidder for the amount not to exceed $27,619 per vehicle, which is in the best interest of the town.
Yeah, 55 is only for two. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Second on this?
Second?
Any discussion? Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh,
Sorry.
yes, yes.
Just happy to see that we're utilizing a local vendor and, excited to move this forward, so, great.
I
Thank you.
just would also like to point out, and I don't mean to take
That's okay.
your thunder.
If I don't cover it, we'll,
Okay.
if you don't cover it, I'll ask.
One of the reasons why this is able to happen is because of the work between, the cooperation between the departments, fleet and police. The animal control van that was in the budget for many years, which was needing to be replaced, Jim Simons, rather than going out and just buying a brand new van or finding something that might even be used, took the van, or the, was it the DARE van from the traffic van from the police department, and reconfigured it actually to the delight of the animal control officers, and was able to save money in that process. And so they are sharing the vehicles as well as their budgets. And so it's an effort to buy more vehicles without having to spend as much money as they would.
Awesome.
Since they sat through this whole meeting. I thought
Well, that's great. Well, since they sat through it, we will at least
Question them now.
tell them that we appreciate you being conservative with our tax dollars, so thank you for that. Yes, sir, Dave.
Yeah, so Mr. Collette certainly come up, because I do have a question that I want to address. and
Well, you know
we
you were
talked
here for a
about it.
reason. You might as well come up, John. Yeah, so you might.
So the budgeted amount is $78,500, and in looking through the budget and how that was partitioned, we actually had $50,000 that was representative for vehicles, and $28,500 of that was representative of cruiser equipment. And so my question is, that's the sufficiency of funds, then utilizing two of the units on there leaves us with $20,883.50. And the question is that sufficient funding then that for the things that were budgeted in the cruiser equipment to take care of outfitting these vehicles, as well as anything else that was planned for that $28,500?
Yes and no.
Okay.
We asked you last year to let us carry over $40,000 into CNR cars, which will be used to supplement the $20,000 that's remaining in that account. So we'll put the $20,000 remaining in that account toward any cruiser equipment that goes in there, and any additional needs we have will come out of that CNR account. So we planned on that going in. That's why we had, we knew that CNR cushion was there, which allowed us to be able to request less money in the budget for last year. So yes.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
Anybody else?
No. Boy, you got up pretty easy, huh?
Well,
That's
Just
great.
thanks to you
That's
and all
good.
the officers for the fair. They did a great job.
Thank
Yeah.
you very much, yeah.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Enjoy your new vehicles. Be safe. Okay, town manager's report.
Can't find it. I just have a couple of reminders. We have the audit committee meeting next Wednesday on, I think that's October 12th. At 6:30 is the audit committee, and then the next night is the 13th at 7 p.m. We will have the hearing on the suspension of the license. So that's also in town council chambers. And the finance director, the new finance director, will be starting on Tuesday, the 11th, and he is joining us right at the beginning of the budget season because the Capital Improvement Committee will be meeting shortly, so it's a good time for him to get on board. We've got to bring him up to speed relatively quickly. And I think that's it.
Okay, great. Special committee reports? Anything? Anybody? No?
Well, I'll wait till council communications. That's okay. Go ahead, Dave. Mine's not appropriate.
I was just going to indicate that on the Worthington Meeting House, there's one of the active members on the Worthington Friends of Worthington Meeting House has been discussing with different neighbors options for future improvement around that area, and we're hoping that will prove positive here in the next little while. Nothing more to develop on that, but it always seems that we're a little short on parking in that area to develop that a little bit further, and we're hoping that will bring to fruition some opportunities there.
Okay. Any other committees? No?
I just had a question.
Yes.
I know at our last meeting, we had talked about scheduling a meeting of the ordinance committee
Yes.
to discuss the leash situation. Have
Yes.
we
I asked.
gotten a date?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I did the audit committee first because that was already scheduled, and then this hearing came up. So that's the other thing that I need to know. If people are available on October 17th, which is a Monday, for the meeting that I've been asked to set up for the water districts. That's a Monday night, the night before our council meeting on the 18th. So we're filling up October, and I know I have playing fields and ordinance has to be set up as well.
So the water meeting's October 17th, you said?
Do you know what time?
Well, I could do it 6:30, 7 o'clock. I could do whatever time works.
Earlier the better.
Earlier the better?
Yep.
On a Monday, the 17th?
Yeah,
Six?
like 5:30?
6?
5:30? 5:30 is better for me.
I don't know that the
That's bad
mayor.
for me. I can't get out of
Six.
work.
Well, we're also
6.
having people coming up from other areas as well, so I don't
6?
know.
Is it 6? All right, no, too late for you?
I'll leave at 6:45.
I mean, that's just really some initial, I mean, it's important we all be there, obviously, but it's some initial discussions.
Is it a meeting if we're all there? I mean, is there a quorum issue if we're all there?
Yeah, actually, that is.
Does it have to be publicized as a town?
Because remember,
council meeting?
I don't, is that an official meeting, or I thought we were just,
If your meeting is an
It's an official
meeting,
meeting. Yeah.
it doesn't matter if there's.
Well, I can always we can notice it then.
Yeah.
well, let's
we'd
just
have to
notice
notice
it then,
it.
that's fine. I
We'll
mean,
do a
the more-
meeting
the more the merrier, let everybody,
Is the question, if we don't have a quorum, can we meet? Is that
Well,
the
I'm just
question?
concerned, we're
Well,
talking
we
about
need a
all
quorum.
being
We
there,
need a
so
quorum,
just
yeah.
making sure that if it is an official meeting, that it's noticed appropriately.
so the question
that's
then
all.
though is, will we have a quorum, because if not,
Oh,
we
that's
won't make
right.
it a special,
Yeah.
yeah, if you
Right.
can't all if,
I can be there until 6:45.
okay, so I mean, that's covered.
At least
Rachel,
I will do my
Quorum
best,
until
Mondays
then.
are hard, but I will do my best.
Myself, I'll be there, gentlemen,
I think it'll be okay.
you'll be there?
6:45 is about my time frame
To leave?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we can continue, or no?
Yeah.
What if, so,
So if
When
you
lose
start
your
at
quorum,
6,
and
When
which,
you lose your quorum, it's not a meeting anymore, but that's okay.
I mean, yeah, I mean,
what
if
is
there's
that?
nothing.
They're not going to take any action.
No, we're not taking any action, so I mean, if people have to leave,
Right.
yeah, it's not, it's informal
I
discussion,
will get
really.
back to everyone as soon as I
Okay.
confirm that with
Okay.
everyone else, because it's a lot of people that I'm trying to corral. What I would ask, and I
6
know
o'clock.
that everyone works, and so when I do email asking whether people can come, I really need a response. I know I sent that out for the 13th, and I only got one or two, maybe one, two. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the two that were good. So I really need to get, otherwise I don't know whether or not a no response is a yes or a no. And I know it's difficult during the day because everyone's working, but I don't know what else I can do. I'm just very pleased that you can all be there on the 13th, because Attorney D'Onofrio and I went back and forth as far as there's strict timelines that we have to have these hearings for, and so if I couldn't have it then, it would throw it into some turmoil, because under the ordinance, it has to be held within a certain amount of time. I don't mean to schedule meetings just to have meetings, believe me.
Oh, come on.
I know you like to call
Yeah,
it
let's just have a bunch of meetings, that's all right. Okay, so yeah, I don't think that's a issue that day. I mean, we'll make it a meeting, but I mean, if people have to go, again, it's informal. That's not. There's no action being anticipated by any means on that at that day. So.
There'll still be minutes done.
Okay.
You don't, it's not,
So-
you're better to always notice a meeting.
Okay.
And have
So
the
good.
minutes done,
Yeah.
even if you lose your quorum.
Okay.
Or
Yeah.
anything. That way, at least under FOI, you're like going beyond what you need.
No. Okay. Good. Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
so-
Yeah. Good.
And we will not need the televised portion of it on the 17th or the 13th. Just letting them know.
Okay.
Awesome.
Great. Great. So you'll get back to
Might
us.
be a big seller. Huh?
Charge admission
My
to
mother
that
would
one.
like that
Yeah.
one.
Okay, so you'll confirm that
Yes.
17th. We're good on the 13th.
Parental discretion is advised.
Yes.
Just want to mention October 12th,
Oh, yeah.
audit committee meeting
Oh, yeah.
with our new auditors at 6:30.
Okay, the 12th. Yeah, okay, that's next Wednesday.
Right.
Okay. Okay, so, all right, so counselor communications.
And I
Yes.
don't know if this is the appropriate spot, but
Yeah.
last meeting, we had a bunch of appointments for commissions, and we
Yes,
said we were gonna
commissions.
do them later, so my question is, when will we be doing them?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. What I'm waiting on is I've had people come to me and said, I'm interested, blah, 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 and I'm telling them, like, please, that's great. You can tell me all day long. Go to Kate, fill out an application, put your qualifications down, and do we have more, or do we not? Do we have a
We
couple?
had a couple more in.
Let me see.
I had one or two.
Yeah.
But that's about it. I
Okay.
thought we might put it on the next agenda.
Yeah, you can put it
So-
on there.
Just
I'm gonna.
if we have people who are interested,
Yeah.
and we have
wanna let
vacant
them know.
seats, we should
Yeah.
start
Yeah.
appointing
A little bit
people,
at a time.
you know?
Yeah, we can
It
do
seems
that.
crazy to
List.
hold it up unless there's someone specific that you're holding it up for, otherwise maybe
No,
we
I
could
think
do a few here and there.
I think last time we had 2 for one commission, but I was informed by the head of the Matt Bassett that a third one was coming, so I was kind of giving him some deference, since the head of the commission
And
asked me,
also,
but.
with the Matabas,
Yes.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
we didn't really get official notice
Okay.
that we were gonna have that second resignation, and that
Okay.
has just come in.
Oh, okay,
So,
okay,
there was
so it wasn't
some-
ready anyway, I remember you told me that,
I
yeah.
understand where
Yeah.
you're coming
Yeah.
from, but when the mayor and I spoke last week, some of it was we were still waiting to, just put all the pieces together.
Yep.
On that
Just
one.
curious.
And the rest, we really didn't have any others, right? Until now, maybe we have a
Yeah, so
couple?
We had a
I can get
couple,
you
yeah.
Yeah.
everything for the next,
Yeah.
It's up to the mayor, but I was just curious.
Well, and again, I just have been encouraging people, again, even people at the fair said, oh, I'm interested, well, great, so fill out the application, that's great, just fill it out, so I wanna have some information on some of the, everybody that comes before us, so. I'd rather have a complete package than a half package, so, anyway. Yes, sir.
I hope this is the appropriate place to bring it up, but at the fair, I was accosted by many citizens, like I'm sure most of you were.
Question.
How does a project like our Main Street improvement get approved? The police commissioners have told me they never saw the traffic patterns. Who actually decides it's okay to rearrange a road like this? Who signs off on it?
Actually, the council approved it, as there were public hearings. The council.
There were public hearings for that design?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
At the library.
Because I guess I'm
At
having
the
a memory
library.
lapse. I remember hearings, and then the grant didn't go forward because we didn't get the work done in time. Did that same permission move forward with that hearing, or did we do the cycle again?
No, we
No,
got the
that
money
was-
and then we got an extension on
Yeah,
that
there
grant.
was an
So we
extension.
had the money originally and then they gave us a deadline
But there were public
and we
hearings
got
on
an
that
extension,
design.
yeah. I think you were there.
Yeah, and I have the color, and I didn't bring it tonight, but I did find the color copy of the presentation by Luke's
Yeah.
Engineering that did it.
So the council approved it?
Yes.
Did the police commission have input?
The police commission did not see it per se for approval. They had a presentation before them. They also were able to come but they did have a presentation done before them, but no formal approval had ever been sought.
If
It went before, the council sent it for planning and zoning and 824 referral. There were easements that were gotten over the course of almost a year because
I
all of
remember the
the,
request for the easements. Is there some way we could build in a format where the fire department okays it and the police department okays it? Because I know, driving a truck for years, you'll never get a fire engine around that one corner.
It's an issue for
Yeah,
sure.
there is a concern. We're meeting actually with the, and Jim Simons has left, but we're meeting with Jim tomorrow with Jack Healy and a couple of other people to discuss that issue.
Just- If we ever do this again, we could avoid a lot of headaches by.
Well, I know, Charlie, that myself and Maggie Morelli, when she was here, both questioned the medians. And I think it was Maggie that brought up that
I do
Main
remember
Street
that.
removed those after a year or two because it was an issue for plowing. But, you know, we approved it because it was grant money, but we never saw, I don't know if they took any of those comments into consideration, but we never saw any plans
I
change.
remember the discussion and you
So we did ask those
objecting to
questions.
that, but I
I
never
remember that.
saw the new answer to your question.
I would just ask, and I know that there have been a lot of people who have come to my office and have called regularly. There are some concerns and quite legitimate concerns, but I did speak with a couple of the business owners today, and we're talking about doing something special with the newspapers once it's done, which it should be done hopefully this week or next week. And once it is done, I think you'll notice that there's more room than it appears right now because of the barrels and
Right.
the police standing there, and the construction has been a disaster. And I use that term loosely, but it hasn't gone as smoothly as it should have. And but I think once it is done, and once the public gets used to it a little, it will be an addition that they'll like. We do have issues, though, to go forward with plowing. We'll have issues with
Do we
maintenance.
plow that, or is that a state?
No, we plow it.
That's ours, okay.
But we have always had an issue, and I don't know if you've ever noticed, after a large storm, there's always an issue that has existed before in front of Star Barber Shop, because when the plows go forward and plow in front of there, it goes into the, if they plow it too high, it goes into the bank. And so we have always had to remove physically with trucks after a big snowstorm. I don't know if anyone has ever seen it, but they do have to
There's a
go
room there,
and
yeah.
physically remove a lot of the snow from that corner. So that's not going to change, none of that. But the fire trucks do, we're going to have some challenges, but generally, I think they can still go up from Farmington Avenue onto, there's no islands when they make that turn from Farmington Avenue onto Main Street, take that left,
Yeah.
they could
Just
go
tell
up.
them South Kensington guys don't get involved. We'll be okay then.
The South Kensington ones? Well, yeah, no, that would be a stretch, though, and I don't know how often that happens, but we're talking to them tomorrow. It could. I
I just
mean, I
figured
don't
if
want
we had
to.
all these people involved in the design process, we might have less static.
Everyone, I agree.
Okay, thank you.
And I hope, I'm sure all of you
It's been
have said this to many people, many citizens of Berlin that have complained to all of us, I'm sure, that just granted, well, maybe it wasn't the best design, but just please wait. I've told so many people, please
Yeah.
just wait till it's done. If we got to fix a couple things, we will. Let's just wait till it's completed. It's not done yet. It's frustrating. There's been the construction, like you said. I understand there's issues, but so I've tried to tell. I'm sure we all have. Just wait till it's finished, and then we'll see. It happens sometimes.
We have even responded. There was one business person who was concerned with the jut out in front of his business, and we have
Right.
recently changed it.
Corrected that, right?
Yep,
Yeah,
we've
that's
corrected
great.
it because he made a legitimate point, and it was seen that it would be difficult for his clientele, so we were able to adjust it. And that also took a little longer than to finish it. So, but we've tried to be as accommodating as possible. It hasn't been smooth.
Change never is. Okay, any other counselor? Yes, Dave.
Yeah, Mayor, just a couple things. Just to follow up on maybe suggestions or approaches for changes. I guess the one suggestion, and I'll certainly express that to the Board of Eds, that maybe changes like this that there might be, and I don't necessarily think they have public hearings, but if they maybe put something out and then the following meeting have some discussion on it. So, and it sounds like they're going to have some discussion on the 11th about the graduation location changing. Also want to express my thanks for those that were able to, that had the time to be able to go see the temple the construction. That was my first time this past week, and I guess I thought it was going to be great, and then it was better than that. So I appreciate those that take the time, and it's still open until the 22nd of October if you still have some interest. So, thank you.
Okay, great. Any more communications? So, acceptance of minutes, September 20th. We have a motion on that.
Sure. Motion to accept the September 20th, 2016 Town Council meeting minutes.
Second?
Second on that.
All those in favor?
Maybe just a comment. I just give some direction to the clerk on just how to spell the name of the church.
Can I just stop? I just really feel like I need to say, this is not the appropriate forum for that, Dave. If you would like to invite people to come to see your place of worship, I don't think it should be done from the governing body. And I'm just going to express my opinion. I think it's fantastic. It's not in our town, and I just don't think it's an appropriate place to do it. Sorry.
Okay. All right, did we approve the minute? All those in favor of the minutes, right? Yes,
Yes.
aye, everybody?
With an amendment, yes.
Huh?
With
Yes,
an
amended.
amendment.
Yes, okay. All right, so, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right,
Second.
Second. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, see you on the 13th.
Yes.